Hello, everyone. Today was nice. It was my day off. I'm going to start this report, though, with the dream report, because I did have a dream last night. And I thought it was worth sharing, just because it kind of ties into how my day started. But before I share the dream, I'm going to tell you all about what happened before. When I was woken up by my mom at around 9 o'clock in the morning to move my car out of the way so that way she could go to work and I could drive my car up the driveway and park it there. I immediately went into the house, used the restroom, drank some water, and then went back to sleep. This is when the dream happened. So, in the dream, I woke up, I looked at the clock, I noticed it was 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and that gave me this worry of anxiety because, for whatever reason, in the dream, I thought, oh no, I'm late for work. I need to go to work. So I put on my work clothes, and then when I turned around, I was just immediately at work. It was as if, I teleported there. It was crazy. Then I started doing my duties as the usual, sweeping for the past month and a half or 2 months now, I would say. And in the midst of my duties, from grabbing a broom and starting to sweep around, I realized something. I realized that, wait a minute, this is my day off. Oh no, I'm working on my day off. I'm taking time from the company. What do I do? So I decided to put away the broom, go to the manager's office, and I told them, okay, guys, I'm sorry. I am working when I'm not supposed to. What can I do to rectify this? And so one of the co-managers, it wasn't the main manager, gave me a check and asked me to write exactly $330 down because apparently in the dream logic, not in real life, in the dream, that was what they believed I owed back to the company for working on a day when I wasn't supposed to in the dream. So I wrote down the check, I gave it to them, and then in the dream I noticed in the office that there were cookie platters on the tables. And if you've ever been at a party where they have sort of a point with platter on the top, in the middle, and on the bottom, and it starts big and goes small and smaller, that's what these kind of platter stands looked like. And there were all sorts of cookies. There was snickerdoodle cookies, there was chocolate chip cookies, and I remember there being sprinkle cookies. Probably my brain's subconscious way of telling me, hey, you should make cookies. They looked pretty good to me, but I decided to immediately walk out of the office. And then as soon as I walked out, that's when I woke up again. And I got out of my bed and I looked at the clock and I saw that the time was 10:30. And then I realized, oh yeah, I have the day off today. Silly me. I was getting worried over nothing. But yeah, that's pretty much how it went down. Interesting, no? Well, anywho, after I got up for reals this time, I decided to go into the kitchen. I wanted to see if there was anything to eat today. And I remember I had that fried chicken that I didn't finish yesterday from work. So I took 3 pieces of the fried chicken, including 2 legs and 1 fried chicken breast, and I air fried that for 350 degrees for about, I'd say, 8 minutes, turning around halfway through to get it evenly heated on each side. And then I put that on a plate and I got some Chick-fil-A sauce and some hot Cheeto lemon flavored with a Dr. Pepper zero sugar. And I decided to go out into the den, turn on the television, and watch one episode of the TV show Three Body Problem on Netflix. Why was I interested in watching Three Body Problem exactly? Well, it has everything to do with the recent disappearances of a lot of these highly valued scientists that have suddenly either gone missing or just died over the span of between late 2025 to early 2026. And apparently the list is continued growing. Like since last time I looked into this, I think like another scientist has died since then. It's getting kind of concerning what's going on here. And when I was I was watching a video on my lunch break at work yesterday, of this lady physicist who usually talks about like, you know, crazy conspiracies sometimes about how she thinks it's completely ridiculous nonsense, and she like tries to offer like a skeptical view of everything and explanations and why she thinks this couldn't be this and why it should be this instead. She tries to have a rational, like level-headed, like grounded in reality view of this. And in the video, even she admitted that this was kind of coincidental. This was very coincidental, these disappearances, and she genuinely doesn't have a good explanation for it. Although she did try to make mention that there's no way that this could have anything to do with like super advanced alien technology or anything, right? Like that just seems too far out there. But the fact that all of these scientists disappear close to each other around similar circumstances is kind of odd, very odd. A lot of them go hiking in the wilderness. Some are just killed outright. It's crazy. Some of them have relations too in terms of their professional career. And then I went down to the comment section, and one of the people in the comments said, "This is exactly like Three Body Problem." And then that made me think, what? Does Three Body Problem start with scientists disappearing or dying? And so I asked Google, and indeed Google did confirm that. And when I heard that, it just made me remember, oh, I was listening to a Jesse Michaels podcast where he was talking about like where he was interviewing this former like presidential advisor who oversaw like 4 different sitting presidents from like JFK to Nixon to 2 others I'm forgetting the name of right now. And apparently he stated that Three Body Problems similarities to how the U.S. Sees a potential alien threat is eerily similar. And apparently United States officials during the George Bush era were all recommended to read The Three Body Problem as a way of remembering as a way of doing research on potential intelligence threats actually I don't know the real reason. I just know they were told to read Three Body Problem. And then apparently there was like a band member who hung out with Obama, and they both got drunk, and then he asked him, "Do you have any explanation from the highest levels of governments of governments of what the nature of reality is?" And then he stated, if you really want to know that, read Three Body Problem. So this book keeps on getting brought up a lot, and the fact that the beginning of the book is very similar to what is apparently happening right now, where this is the story in the book. There are scientists who are leaving this earth or going missing left and right. And apparently the reason is because these are the top scientists in the world, and they're hitting a wall with physics and the nature of reality, and they don't understand how to get over this wall. It seems like the reality is deliberately like not making sense as a way of like being a guardrail against these scientists from like truly exploring like the nature of reality itself. And this drives a lot of scientists to ultimately, hit the big one, if you know what I mean, or do the big one. And the and apparently some scientists even see number countdowns. So the reason for this is because the book is actually about an alien race. This is where we get into the out there portion, where the alien race, they are on their way to Earth because their planet is apparently their way of life is going down the tubes, but it's going to take them a while to get to Earth. But they're able to manipulate reality on like a fundamental level, where they can put the world's most intelligent scientists on Earth at a like bottleneck where they'll only understand physics up to a certain point, to where they can no longer understand it because apparently reality is being manipulated by these alien beings to keep the scientists confused and never understand the true nature of how things work. And this allows the beings to essentially control the speed and development of humankind, so that way humans can continue staying stuck in a certain level of development so they can't reach higher levels of development. Apparently the reason that was given that I researched was that they want to remain the top dogs when they eventually arrive to Earth. So yeah, that's pretty crazy. My only question is, if they're so advanced and able to manipulate reality like that to species far off into another star system, wouldn't they have the necessary means of just arriving on the planet immediately? Or is that just another reason why they're not arriving on the planet immediately? They're intentionally like, slowing things down to like keep human beings at a level of development where they'll be able to supersede them quite easily when they decide to eventually take Earth as their own. But that's the story of the book, from what I understand. It's like speculative fiction, but the fact that so many high-ranking individuals were asked to read this book indicates that there may be kernels of truth to it that aren't being fully disclosed. So, I mean, it's possible, but at the same time, like the author of the book, it seems like the only background he has is just working with like machines, from what I can remember from my research. So, yeah, not exactly sure why he would have any deeper secrets or knowledge other than what he was exploring. But maybe it's the case where he did explore so deeply that he ended up just by happenstance coming across these truths that he wasn't expecting to come across, and he didn't know that he even was coming across them to begin with, but he implemented them in the book simply because it creates a more compelling narrative. It's interesting to think about, that's for sure. But anyways, I sat there in the den with my meal, watching the Netflix adaptation of The Three Body Problem. And as for the Netflix adaptation, I will say that this was pretty standard fare in terms of like a mystery drama kind of show. You've got like your characters all like, ooh, are you going out with that lady? Ooh, she's already taken. Or, ooh, this guy's trying to get with these two super smart ladies, but clearly they're way out of his league in terms of intelligence, so he just decides to not even bother and sings bad karaoke instead. Ooh, um, yeah. But the actual like through line story is quite compelling. It starts out with like the past, and it's not explicitly stated to be the past until much later in the episode, where it's like the Communist Party in China are rejecting like scientists that um, believe in like quantum mechanics, or you know deeper truths in science, and they decide to showcase this guy who doesn't want to forego his deep-seated beliefs um, to join this party. He'd rather be beaten to death for what he believes in over giving up his integrity to live another day. And yeah, but he's being up in front of his own daughter, which is very sad, and extremely brutal. Yeah, very brutal show. And then she later works in like a camp where she's given like this book the guy who gave her the book, he tells her, yeah, I know you read English, and I also know that you probably would appreciate this book that has some unique and interesting ideas in it that explore deeper truths of reality. So here you go. And that made me think, that's an odd correlation with why I'm like researching this and doing this now. I mean, it really could just be coincidental, because Communist Party, they block all facets of information that doesn't fit within their regime, but then someone gives something that challenges the regime, and so like when the person reads it, like they're like it's labeled as dangerous propaganda by the party in power, because they don't want anyone to challenge their beliefs, because they want everyone to act the same and be a baton and stuff. Although you could say it's poetically and metaphorically similar to like I guess the broader themes of like this broad general narrative of like, this is what science and physics should be, but they're not, and the challenge of it not being this has caused many people to lose their minds and do the big one. Yeah, so it's I guess it could be seen as a good correlation to that. She's found out to have the book by the officers in this camp, and they decide to take her into this prison where she's asked to forfeit her beliefs to join with the party, but to provide essential research. But she decides, no, I'd rather like not. I'm like my dad. I'm gonna have integrity with my beliefs. And the lady who's trying to convince her ultimately decides to dump a bunch of cold water on her, which sucks. I'm not sure what the water was supposed to be for, whether it was like washing water or restroom water, whatever it was. Like, it looked gross. But yeah. Okay, but then she is later seen as a valuable asset, albeit one that's contradictory to the Communist Party's beliefs, and she's brought in to work on a super top secret radio wave device on top of a hill that, when turned on, alerts birds, and then ultimately kills a lot of birds using like radio waves and stuff. and all the birds start falling off the sky and like on the ground. And yeah, that was pretty much her story. And then that was like the through plot that they cut back and forth between from the modern plot. And the modern plot is basically these scientists all have different backgrounds, different like jobs, businesses, things they're doing. They've all got different relationships with each other, and ultimately they are brought together because of the death of a scientist that happened recently. And during this time, one of these scientists, ladies, sees these numbers appearing in her vision, and she doesn't really know what to make of it. But then she's told by this woman who walks by that, oh, by the way, that time you see, yeah, that's important. You should be at this exact location and be looking up at the stars. You'll know exactly you'll see the universe winking back at you. So, clearly this like lady that she was talking to knows something that she doesn't. And so she decides to investigate. And, as she's investigating, there is another lady who pays a visit to the scientist's mother, the one that died, her mother, and they make food for her like little like shrine, the scientist that's gone, and then they find this like VR headset thing. And the lady scientist's mom allows her to have it. And then we find out the lady scientist's mom was actually the lady at the very beginning of the show, who had decided to be a scientist for the Communist Party research team. So the lady puts on this like headset, and what she sees is really bizarre. She sees like this interesting location, and like all manner of strange stuff happens, and like it just looks really weird, really interesting. But then something scary happens. She takes the headset off. She's like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying. And so we stop at that thread. And then there's like another thread where like there's this guy who's like doing research on all the scientists that are leaving. And he's like got his like dartboard with all the different connections pinned down, and like he's got like the guy working behind the shadows, the puppeteer, and he's like telling this has to be a thing, this has to be thing, everything has to like be connected. And so he's like, yeah, let's continue doing our research and see what is connected and what is not. So yeah, that was interesting. And then the episode ends with like the lady scientist with one of her friends going outside looking up at the sky, and like suddenly the sky starts like blinking, and like I guess that's the way of the universe blinking, like that lady was saying earlier in the episode. And that's pretty much how it ends. And then it like goes through its montage of these are the moments that are going to happen in the next one. And very vague, but fairly engaging and interesting moments at the same time. And that's the episode 1 of Three Body Problem. I did a little bit of research because apparently they said a second season is coming in the Netflix app. And I was like, wait, how do you make more seasons off of one book? And I did my research. Apparently, the first 5 episodes of the season, and there's 8 episodes in total of season 1, are based on the entirety of Three Body Problem. And then after that, episodes 6, 7, and 8 are partly based on there are 2 more books in this series. I'm forgetting the name of these 2 books right now. Like, they're not on the top of my head. But the fact that there were more written after Three Body Problem is what I find absolutely interesting, fascinating. Like, what more could be said about this? So, yeah, and how are they going to stretch those books into another season? I really hope this is going to be one of those situations where they run out of like resources to do, but instead of just saying, you know what, we had a good run, call it quits, and we'll find something else to work on or adapt, they just are like, let it ride, let it keep on going. Even if we run out of material, let's just do it because we need more of that cheddar, I guess, even though, we got to keep people employed, even if it doesn't make sense for the story. But I hope that doesn't happen, because it's pretty interesting. Anyways, after the episode ended, I was done with my food. I got up, and I remember I was doing a silly little Cheeto dance with my sister. Like, I ate Cheeto and then little wiggle, and she Cheeto and did a little wiggle, and that was pretty funny. And then I remember I decided to use the restroom, and when I got out, I noticed that there was a new Jesse Michaels video about the scientists disappearing. So I decided to listen to that while I was making browned butter chocolate chip cookies, homemade. So, I had to I had to boil the butter until it was browned. I had to put that in the freezer so it could harden. Then I made the measurements for the flour, leavening, salt, the sugars, the eggs, everything. Mixed it all together. Made 6 cookies as a starter pack, and then put the rest of the batter in like a plastic container and put that in the fridge and washed everything I used. Took the cookies out. I put them in 350 for 14 minutes, but I realized that probably wasn't a good idea because it came out kind of burnt-y, so that was a shame. But yeah, and they were also kind of hard too. Still good flavor though, I will say. I had 3. I had a cup of coffee with Equal and some milk in it. That was pretty good with the cookie. And then I meditated with delta waves for like half an hour, and then tried meditating with frequency tuning waves for like another 23 minutes. And then I watched a video of a guy talking about the disappearance of other scientists, and then I watched another Caper Site video where it was talking about different alien sightings, UFO sightings. Not alien, but UFO. There's a difference because UFO just means unidentified, doesn't necessarily mean extraterrestrial in origin. That was pretty interesting. And then after that, I decided to go onto the Grock app to see what was going on with that. And I found out that for $30 a month, you get endless generations of video as much as you want. No credits required, simply just one flat $30 rate fee, and you're good to go. And I saw that, and I was like, well, if it's one flat $30 rate, and it sounds good to me. So I decided to purchase the $30 tier and immediately unsubscribe because I don't like staying subscribed to things. I like just subscribing for 1 month and then immediately stopping because I don't like the idea of continuously using a service that probably will be dated by next month by an even better service. So yeah. And I was messing around trying to redo a scene from one of that bee video that me and my mom worked on a few days ago, where the bee looks at the camera, winks, and then flies up to the cat and stings the cat as revenge for the cat trying to attack the bee. I got one decent generation, but everything else was really funky looking. It was yeah. And that took way too much time off my hands. Eventually, my mom arrived. Our family friend arrived. They were bringing in food from this meeting they had, and my mom and family friend were talking about how they didn't really have an agreement with how things ended up with it, and yeah. But then family friend went to their room. Me and my mom went into the den. We watched a trailer for the Wile E. Coyote versus Acme movie, which looks like it's going to be at least amusing. looking forward to it. And then we watched the Jesse Michaels video I was listening to. I gotta be honest, there's so much information in that video that like I generally don't really want to go over any of it because like I mean it's a lot. All I'm gonna say is if you want the most comprehensive view of the whole disappearance of each of these scientists and their what they did and their relationship with each other, I think the Jesse Michaels video does a really solid job breaking it all down and making it easily digestible. So definitely check that out if you want more information on the disappearing scientists. My mom was even starting to fall asleep by the end because of how, like, complex it was. And then after that, I said goodnight to her. She said goodnight to me. I went in my room. I decided to start work on that Simmy and Jimmy video that I did like 2 months ago, but kind of just ignored. And I decided to pick up again because I'm like, well, if I have this Grock thing for a month, I might as well get some use out of it. So I was working on it, but I was like, I wonder if there's a better image generator out there. ChatGPT just released theirs, so I was like, well, I guess I'll use that then. So I took the image generator for ChatGPT, and once again, I spent $20 for ChatGPT for the month. I swear this is gonna be the last major AI purchase for a while because anymore, and that would just be financially irresponsible. And yeah, I was just trying to get as much work done for that Simmy and Jimmy Survivor video as I could before I ran into a roadblock where ChatGPT wouldn't let me generate any more images because it said it was an error on its part. So that put a block on that. So instead, I decided to take my vitamins, brush my teeth, and then record this update video. So that's pretty much my day in a nutshell. And overall, it was a very experimental day off. Experimental because I was experimenting with Grock, I was experimenting with ChatGPT, I was investigative day off. I was watching these videos about these disappearing scientists. I was watching 3-Body Problem episode 1, trying to see the correlations there, trying to ask questions, see why this book has anything to do with what's going on. And overall, yeah, it was a really compelling and engaging research find. So I definitely do appreciate that. And also it was a joyful day off because I got to spend some time with my sister, my mom, and our family friends. So big thumbs up on that. Well, I'm going to publish this bad boy and then I'm going to go to sleep. So thank you so much for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Good night, everybody. Take care.